Welcome everybody to the MiniMapCast. This is your weekly source of gaming news, questions, and impressions from minimap.com.au. My name is Kery Palmer, and joining me is Jeremy Bratatich.
Hello.
Always.
I was a little slow on the jump on the scene transition that time.
That's all right. We're still making it work. It's fun making it work. The real test, as we discovered last week, is the outro. Still getting the video timings. I'm still really impressed every time I see the video transition. It's quite a slick little whoop, but without the sound effects because that would be awful on
I can add those in. I can add in a whoop and a whoop.
I think that's a bad idea, but
I don't know what
they'll be in my head. Audience, if you're watching the video version of the podcast and you see the octagonal, it's not an octagon, it's an oval. It's
just an oval.
Ovular. If you see the ovular,
it's a rounded square. Kery.
Jeremy, I have a question for you.
Yes.
How long does your Easter chocolate last?
Like, I don't know, a week after Easter.
Okay. I just had some before we started the show.
This. From last Easter?
And
you maniac?
Pardon?
From last Easter, you maniac?
No, not 12 months ago. I did finish a little bag of they were like little candy eggs. They had like hard candy outside and then like a Turkish Delight interior, and they were nice. I only finished those about a month ago from last Easter,
right.
But no, just from a month ago. But then there's usually stuff. Sam will be given stuff, and then Sam's gut is a bit sensitive to like different dairy replacement products because they're vegan, and then they can't eat half of them, and a lot of the time I just end up eating them slowly over the course of months.
Right.
There's always chocolate in the cupboard. Or if we order something that we thought was vegan and then it isn't, it's like, well, I guess it's on me now. And yeah.
Be it on your head, on your chocolate covered mouth.
I thought you were gonna say on my chuckle head. If you weren't aware, this is the MiniMapCast. We come here to talk about Easter chocolate, apparently, and video games. We're gonna do that today. If you want to find all other episodes of this podcast, you can go to minimap.com.au, find everything we've ever done there, including the occasional written thing, and all of our previous episodes of this podcast, as well as our other podcasts, like the Pecking Order, which is our pop culture kissability ranking podcast. I love now that we do video, everyone can see how hard I have to try to say all of those words every time I try and describe the Pecking Order. We are also on socials. You can find us on TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, Twitch, and that's about it for now.
Twitch
all of
is just
those
a homepage for our feeds.
Yeah, basically. And you can find all of those under MiniMapAU. You can also go to patreon.com/MiniMapAU to find us there if you want to support us monetarily. You can support us there for $5. Gets you a bunch of random stuff. If we have interesting conversations in our break, for example, which we record, then we'll throw those up there, or just little things, but mostly it's a way for you to support us monetarily if you want to do that. We also wanted to say thank you to Shook for letting us use the Moog Model D Improv as the music for the Minimapcast. You can listen to more of Shook's music at shook.bandcamp.com. Jeremy, while I start my timer for the show, because I totally forgot to do that, what have you been playing this week?
I'm playing a game called Teardown. Now, are you familiar with the game Teardown?
I am personally familiar with this game, yes. I like it a lot.
Yeah. It's
conceptually.
Yeah. So Teardown is a 3D first-person, it's kind of a heist game. But it's not quite like it is definitely a heist game, but it is a very particular type of heist game. So in Teardown, you are a demolition person, and you are struggling with money, and so you start to take some odder jobs, which are more about hey,
Not just odd jobs.
Not just odd jobs. They're odder than that. Where like, someone might say like, hey, like I need you to steal this car, or like, hey, I need you to break into this vault and get the stuff that's in the vault for me, etc. There's like an overarching story that characters sort of keep emailing you back and forth, and depending on what jobs you pick, you sort of get to like different characters getting different perspectives on the jobs that you're doing. But what makes this game really cool is that it's all voxel based and it's all physics based. And so what you're doing is you are like breaking through like parts of the wall. Like imagine if the blocks in Minecraft were really, really tiny, and that you could make more rounded shapes with certain things. So you can make what looks like a real house and just bash like your way through by making a person-sized hole and then going through a wall, for example, or like a door. They also have things like fires and explosives as well.
Fires.
Yeah, fires and explosives, as well as like you can drive vehicles, so you can drive cranes and trucks and cars into walls and doors and break them down. And as well, like there's a couple of other like I've got like a shotgun as well. One of the big mechanics of the game is that when you enter a level, like what you're usually stealing will cause an alarm, and so then you've got about like a minute or 2 minutes to get out. And so what you tend to do is you get everything ready for you to steal the thing, and you're planning this heist while walking around this area and hoping that like there's no security cameras or whatever, or like avoiding all that stuff. And then you grab the thing and you like make a plan prior to you grabbing that thing so you can get out as quickly as fucking possible. So there's a lot of like, you might spend half an hour on a level maybe, if you're really taking your time on it. And then like when it comes down to it, like you've got a minute to do the thing and get out. And so like there's like a ton of planning. It's not dissimilar to Hitman in that regard, where like
somehow you saying that just then made me think the same thing. Yeah.
Yes. And maybe that's just because I play it the same way as I do Hitman, which is like I sort of want to plan stuff. But I think Hitman lends itself more to like mistakes, cascading events. Like not this doesn't have that, but Hitman has like
because Hitman rarely has that like hard failure limit, right? Like there's very rarely a timer in Hitman, or it's usually like, oh, they've seen you got to deal with it now.
Yeah, like Hitman deals a lot more with like improvising like scenarios to get out of a wacky situation, whereas like this doesn't have quite as much of that. This is more about like doing more planning, and then like if something does go wrong, you need to like change something, but at the end of the day you've still only got like 2 minutes. So one of the ones, for example, was like, hey, like this guy that I hate, I need you to break in and destroy like 4 of his cars. And a bunch of his cars are tied up to alarm systems. Some of them are not. But the moment that like the alarm system is broken or triggered, then you've only got 2 minutes. And so you've got to destroy as many cars as you can. This is how I did it. Destroy as many cars as you can that are not connected to the alarm system, and then try and get 2 of the cars that are connected to the alarm system close enough together that you can destroy them sort of in one hit, and then escape. And that was like a fun one because like you can drive them into water. So like one of them was just next to a spa, so I just hopped in and like held down the gas, and it just drove immediately into like this spa bath and it destroyed. But I did look at the challenges, and challenges had like for extra points you can destroy like all 9 of his cars or something, and I don't know how you would do that. I genuinely don't. But there is a way.
Yeah.
And I wonder if it's like if I come back later with more stuff, I can come back and sort of do it a lot better. But one of the most important things that this game has, which I think is really cool, is a spray can. Because what you can do is you can draw paths as you're going. So you can then, like, you don't even have to think about what you're doing next. You are going over doing the thing, and then you're following the line you've already drawn, because suddenly the alarms are going off and everything's going crazy and you need to get the fuck out as soon as possible. So you've already driven your paths around the world up and down, up a ladder, then like over like across a roof to another building, all that stuff. It's really cool. It's like a really, really cool game.
I think it got shown off at the Game Awards originally, right? So it was
Maybe.
fairly high profile for such a small game.
It was one of those games that I want to say was like its development is quite well documented on Twitter by the developers, I believe.
Yeah.
I remember seeing like
Sable.
Yeah, like hey, like I tried, like I've added this new mechanic sort of thing, and it's just like spreading fire, for example, or like and then driving cars into things and the car physics, breaking buildings appropriately. So I want to say there's a lot of that online. I don't remember the Game Awards, but that's funny if it was. Yeah, I think this game is really cool. It's got pretty good like tense like heist music when you're sneaking around. The actual like building break, because you can level buildings in this game. It takes a very long time, but you can. Like the physics don't they don't weigh like perfectly well. So like if you break a foundation, say like a building is 3 layers, if you break the entire first layer, then the second layer and the layer on top, they're not gonna like crumple into each other. It will just like drop, which is funny.
Right.
But like driving through a building while you're like driving a giant truck or like a big crane with an arm, and you could just swing the crane through and it will just like destroy whatever it's touching, is really fun.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, and you can like pick up and throw objects as well, so you can sort of make like de facto bridges, or if you want to throw like a high pressure like metal pressurized canister sort of thing, like you can throw those and then they blow up. And shooting things with a shotgun tends to make them blow up as well. It's fun. It's cool. It's very like the simulator games that like all of the like the meta layer was always you going back to your room and going on a computer and then choosing a mission sort of thing, and then like from that you can see your bank balance and buy upgrades. Like it's similar. It's a similar meta layer to that. But like the game part of this is like really cool. Like the art style fits it really well. The lighting is really good, and the realization that everything here can break in one way or another leads you to like make up these crazy different ways of getting over like a stone fence, or going from one side of the building to another, or etc. It's really fun. And like it's also not always about breaking things. Sometimes you just got to steal things, like steal a car and then get it into your truck, which can be quite difficult. Like I stole a car by...
Like it's quite easy to break things.
Yes, like, and you don't, like, the more the car is damaged, the less you get payment in the mission, so you want to try and have a car-sized hole through everything so that you can get this car to the goal as in best condition as possible. Yeah, it's really fun. I'm having a pretty fun time with it. It's pretty light, and I wouldn't play it for maybe a couple hours at a time. But it is a good solid time. Teardown.
Great.
I forgot my joke.
As in, you don't remember it, or
no,
like it's too late, or
it's like the fire extinguisher. I was gonna do the overlay joke again. That's
like to put the fire extinguisher on your
over my
visuals.
Man, I forgot all about it.
No, it's all over. Start the show over. Give up. It's no point anymore. Start again. My biggest experience with Teardown is I actually watched Tio, who's a YouTuber I've watched a long time. He got really into it one day, and one of his videos is him perfecting this really hard challenge level. And it's like, steal this painting, like open this safe, and then crash this car and get out all within a minute.
Right.
And like, it's really complex. You have to get like across the entire compound once the alarm starts, but you can't do any one thing first because all of them trigger the alarm. And so it's all about him setting it up really, really precisely. And so like he's driven a car right to where it needs to be so he can like jump out of one building, get straight in it, drive that car, jump out to get in the car that needs to be broken, to drive it into the water near the exit, And like the whole video is him trying over and over and over again. Like it took him like 4 hours to pull off.
Wow.
Because he set the plan up and breaking holes through walls and putting a plank through the holes between two buildings so he can walk straight through them. Like it was cool seeing the sort of the intense end level stuff, the really challenging stuff in that regard as well.
Right.
But yeah, no, it looks so kooky and fun.
It is. It's got a good sense of humor to it, which is important.
I've got a really bitsy PC sort of list of games this week. I'm only going to talk about a couple of these briefly. Jeremy, have you heard of PowerbeatsVR?
I haven't, Kery. Of course I haven't.
I got this in a Humble Bundle a month ago. It was like a VR Humble Bundle. Came with Ragnarok, which is this like Viking drum game, which I'm excited to play but haven't yet. But this one is like, it's a rhythm fitness game in VR, right? And so I looked at it and I didn't give it much credence because I thought it's just going to be Beat Saber. But there's something, I don't know, I did it once and I kind of tried it just because like, oh, it says it's going to help you fit. It's going to help you get fitter. And like, I've been trying to do that a bit more. Maybe this will be better than Beat Saber, but I doubt it. And turns out it totally was. And I didn't realize that until, well, I did like beginner and I'm like, this is really boring and like really awkward, like punching in midair. Like it's really weird.
Right.
It's much less natural compared to slicing with lightsabers.
Mm-hmm.
But then I did the advanced ones, and because I've been fairly unfit recently, I did one of the advanced ones, and then like my ears started ringing, and I had to sit down.
Jesus.
I'm like, okay, good, this thing works. Okay, I'm gonna. And then the next day, I was so sore in so many places I didn't realize I was going to be. Like in my the back side of my rib cage, like my torso was sore. Like I didn't know that could happen with like just punching the air. And so I was quite happy that I tried it. I just wanted to mention that because like I feel like, we mentioned Ring Fit and Beat Saber and a bunch of things. It's like this one was surprisingly decent. And I'm going to try and keep it. I actually did some this morning. I'm just going to try and do like a non-committal like 10, 20 minutes in the morning sometimes.
Right.
And go have a shower and get on with the rest of my day and see how that goes.
Okay.
Because I've realized that the problem with Ring Fit is it takes so long to set up. And to get the most out of it, you need to do a longer session because it is sort of lighter weight resistance stuff.
Yeah.
And just running on the spot. So this is a good, like, quick, relatively, it's 10 minutes of VR setup, but like a good, relatively quick get in, punch some stuff, be sore the next day, go about your day.
Right.
I also tried Civilization 6 for the first time this weekend with you, Jeremy, and with our friends as well. And I brought it up because I thought most of us had it for free from something. They'd given it away on Epic at some point and on Humble Bundle, the Platinum Edition. I was like, okay, we haven't played that many games together recently. Let's just pick something that's kind of chill and we can just sit and chat about whatever or get engrossed and play it.
Yeah.
And I've heard of Civilization being quite an intense game. And admittedly, I did underestimate how complicated it would be to jump into without having done the tutorial first. So I did have a lot of fun playing the game, but I was exceptionally overwhelmed after playing a couple of hours. It's a lot of things like the menus. You hover over a thing and it's like, you need 100 gear to publish this resource to make a trade route. I'm like, how do I make a trade route? And they're like, you need a builder to do this. It's like, how do I make a builder? It's like, open this tech tree. I'm like, what the fuck is this? And so I was like kind of flying by the seat of my pants a bit. And I was enjoying it, but I did start to feel just like, I'm going to get screwed here by the AI and there's nothing I can do about it because I don't know what's going on. How did you feel that session went? As someone who knows what they're doing.
Oh, like I got a little bit fucked over by one of the AI, like really early. Like they just played like what is the equivalent of a very good hand.
Right.
Like it was just like perfect time for that civilization. It was like Gilgamesh attacked me with one of their civilization specific units.
Right.
And it was just like Gilgamesh was like, yeah, like I'm gonna take that city, and I'm like, like fuck, like I just wasn't ready for it. I ended up taking it back, sort of, and then someone else got like the final hit, which means that they claimed like ownership of it, which means the city was just raised. I'm like, fuck.
Yeah, that sucks.
What a waste. Yeah, like I think it was good. Like I put the difficulty up too high by mistake because there's 8 or 9 levels of difficulty, and they're all named. As opposed to like
prince and peasant and
like I chose the wrong one because I remember that one being lower than what it actually was. So like that might have made the game for you a little bit trickier, but also like I was saying before we started recording that like while we played in the same game together, Kery was on the other side of the world for the entire match and only met like 1 or 2 other civilizations.
Yeah,
and
out
so
of 6.
By and large, like Kery and I played like different games.
Yeah, it was interesting. I got spawned on like a peninsula, it turned out, and there was a city-state on the left that I couldn't get past. And then by the time I figured out the tiny like mountain pass on the right, was it the French or the British? I can't remember who it was. Had expanded to the point where I couldn't get past them on that side either.
Yeah.
And so then I was starting to ferry troops across to the north. And then they were getting shot by arrow barbarians, and it was all... I felt very hamstrung and also like a deer in the headlights. Well, when I finally started seeing the area, and I was like, I can't do anything.
Sort of. Like, the barbarians are like the first enemy you face in Civ.
Yeah.
Because there are others...
Before anyone else can be an enemy.
Yes, yeah. I was talking to Ollie about Civ, because he went through into the tutorial, and I was like, how was it? And he goes, you know, like the tutorial, like it teaches you how the game works, but like you learn that game just by playing games.
Interesting.
And just not, you learn by just not knowing what that is and going, well, what's that? And then you just pick up more and more information as you go. We were also saying that the way you learn that game is you buy the first one in 1992.
You are Sid Meier.
Yeah. I think I don't remember exactly how Civ 6 does it. Civ 5 has a good like guide system which you can turn on in any game, which gives you recommendations all the time and gives you brief explainers of things as you're playing. I think Civ 6 has this as well, but it just might have been turned off for you.
Yeah, it has something like that. Like it was giving me recommendations, like, oh, try this tech tree next, or build a city here.
Right.
But I wasn't getting those explanations during multiplayer, like I was getting during single player.
Right. Okay. I think you can turn it on, but by default, it's off for multiplayer.
Yeah. Okay.
I think you should play more of that game.
I agree. I think I would enjoy it. I did get a bit of that like Forts feeling of like if I'm playing a strategy game and I'm just being outclassed because I didn't know something or I didn't understand something or someone else just gets it more than I do. I feel like I get really frustrated all of a sudden. I feel like, oh, why am I bothering? There was no point. Like I was never going to win this. And it is quite irrational. It's quite strong and strange. But like
Civ has got a really good way of getting up on your enemies in ways that they just wouldn't have expected. It happens quite a lot. There are many ways to come back in a Civ game, because by and large, if someone's really, really into science, they're probably not going to have the strongest military, and so, like you can't be strong in every single area.
Yeah.
Which means that if you start to focus really heavily on another area because someone else has like got a weak spot for it, like you will like really damage them. Like you can really fuck them. I played a game once where I was playing with one of my friends and he had expanded quite broadly and had like a
was
ton
it like
of
thinly?
Pardon?
Was he like spread quite thin, but in a large area?
Like, just like over a wide area of land, like ton of resources, ton of luxury stuff, blah, 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 blah. And he was really focusing on like land acquisition. And I was sort of there going like, he's like sort of beating me in almost every regard. Like, what the fuck can I do? And what I did was I spent all my money on like some of the political votes.
Oh, like the world stuff, the World Congress stuff.
Yeah. And I taxed luxury resources. And then he started to hemorrhage money.
Oh
no! Like he went from like making like hundreds of gold to like losing hundreds of gold per turn, and he went into the negatives. His like cities got like really angry because all of a sudden they're all
poor.
Yeah, they're all losing money and they're not happy and things are not being funded in the cities. Blah blah blah. And so then he had to like sell a bunch of his army to like reduce tax. It fucked him. It absolutely like destroyed. And it was only for like 20 turns before World Congress like came back.
Right.
But there was like a good minute where he was like, "Oh, like this is just like fucking ended like whatever campaign I was doing," which is how I felt.
How far into the game was that?
I don't know, maybe like 10 hours.
Oh my
god! It was like day 3 of us playing that that campaign. It's good. It's a really good game. I've played a lot more than 5 than I have 6, but like yeah, Civ is fun.
Yeah, no, I definitely need to give it the time and just sit down with it.
You and I should play a game of Civ where it's you, me, and one other civilization on a small map, and then we can either we can do some little like do we want to team up or do I want to team up with them?
Okay, but sort of reduce the complexity a little bit.
Yeah. So not have to worry about so many plates spinning.
Yeah. Okay, that could be interesting.
Yeah.
Does that, and a smaller map and less civilizations, does that decrease the turn time? Like, does that decrease how long a match would take?
Not necessarily.
Or is it hard to say?
You can determine that. You can determine the length of the match.
Right. Okay. Oh yeah, it's hard to look at and say, yeah, I want to invest. I want to get good at Civ, because me saying that is like a dozens of hours investment, right? It's like,
yeah, I put 400 hours into Civ 5 and I think 80 hours into Civ 6.
Exactly, right? So yeah, it's hard to give myself into that. But also, what if I really enjoyed it and it would be worth it? So yeah.
Civ is apparently quite good on the Steam controller they made. That was one of the
Steam controller.
One of the big selling points for that controller was, hey, it's like Civ 5 compatible.
Well, that was because that was their whole thing. Was like, oh, with Steam machines and the Steam Link, you can play Steam on your TV. But how are you going to play PC games? Oh, with these weird touchpad things that will replicate a mouse for you.
Yeah.
And they've got that on the Steam Deck now, don't they? They've got the touch squares. Although I don't know how well they do that. That would be interesting actually to see what the PC only compatibility of a Steam Deck experience is.
Civ 6 has also got this really it's got a 2D mode. Because it's like quite a...
Oh yeah, I did see that once.
It's quite a pretty game, and it can get quite intensive, especially towards the end, especially on the CPU, where like turns just like in between turns being taken, there's just like you're just waiting, for the AI to do something, but also for the CPU to like calculate what it needs to do.
That's so funny.
It is funny. But like you can I played that game on like a really shitty dinky laptop. That was like provided to me by my high school. This is Civ 5, by the way, not 6. And it was like, the 2D mode.
Graphics.
The 2D mode is just like it's a board game at that point.
Yeah, I mean, it basically just is a board game with many menus and resources.
Yes.
But yeah, it's pretty cool. I also have when we joined the voice call, I said to Jeremy, I hope you're ready to talk about Persona. Because this game has slowly become the only thing I want to play. I don't remember when I started playing this game. Months and months ago. Potentially years, not years, but potentially maybe like a year ago now. And I don't know, something happened where I started enjoying getting through the story. What do you You put a mask on me. Hang on. I'm moving, but it's like mirrored, and then it's like confusing. Keep up.
I'm doing it with a mouse.
I gotta. I'll try and stay still for you. There we go. So this game slowly became, the only thing I want to play. But it also slowly became a game that Sam really wanted to watch me play as well. We both got more and more invested in the story. And we got to a point, and I don't know how much I want to spoil about this, right? But basically, when the game starts, you start in like 9 months ahead, kind of. You start 9 months ahead. Something happens. Your character gets detained. This is all the very start of the game. And then your character thinks back to the start of the year. And then you play through the whole year up until that point.
Right.
And 90 hours into the game, we finally caught up to that point. So a lot of things started happening plot-wise. And I've been dabbling about how much I want to talk about it, because it really is, honestly, it's such a heel turn. We had a lot of fun with it. But one of the few things that happened, you've got the confidant system in Persona 5 where you level up your relationship with different characters. And that way, you start... What am I trying to say? Like you develop you go through a side story with them, and then you develop a stronger relationship with them. That gives you bonuses. Maybe it's in the real world, the clinic doctor nearby will sell you stronger medicine that you could take it to the palaces. Or maybe it'll be one of your teammates, and then their own persona will get stronger, and they can use better spells, and they are stronger. There's a few things about Persona 5 Royal, though, with the new content where there are deadlines that you have to hit before a certain date with their confidants.
Right.
And a few of them they make really explicit to that, right? Like they're like, oh, the politician who helps you with your speech ability is like, hey, there's going to be election stuff happening soon. So after this date, I'm not going to be able to hang out with you anymore, okay? And I was like, oh shit, what rank are you? Okay, you're rank 7. I've got like 2 weeks. I can mainline you whenever I see you and do all the boosts to make sure we get to rank 10 with you. So I max that out. And I did. And the same with the school counselor, who's new with Royal. It's like, oh, same date, actually, which is weird. I leave the school. So, if you want to chat with me more, do that then. So I did.
Right.
Got him right up to rank 9 out of 10. And I'm like, oh, I'm running out of days. I got to do this before the 18th. And he gets to the day of the 17th. And I look at my map to see all the confidants and who wants to catch up with me that day. And he's not on there. And I'm like, fuck! Shit! What am I going to do? I'm not going to be able to max him out to rank 10. So I look it up, and I get on my phone. And it says, oh, the counselor, you need to get to rank 9 before the 18th. And then on the 18th, if you're at rank 9, it automatically ranks you up to rank 10. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool. Phew. I hit some pseudo deadline so I could get to rank 10 before he leaves forever. That's fine. And immediately this like open world completionist sick part of my brain, right, that won't let things go, that wants to do all the question marks.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, fuck. Shit, okay, I managed it. It's fine. But when I was reading that, they're like, oh, also, you need to get Akechi, who's this other guy. You need to get his persona up to level 10 by this date as well. And by this point, I'm at the date, and I haven't been maxing him out. He's level 8 of 10. And I'm like, oh, no. I've missed it. I've missed that one.
Yeah.
And then they were like, oh no, if you don't do that before this date, then you don't get the true ending. And I'm like, oh man, I would have done it differently. I would have done those first before I going to the other ones, because I got spare time to do the other ones after the November, the whatever.
The only true ending, Kery, is the one you get.
It's the friends we make along the... No, you're right. It's hard to accept, but you're right.
Yeah.
And so we finished for the night, and Sam went to sleep, and I sat up, and then I went to bed, and I got up the next day, and I think it was the weekend. I wasn't doing much, and Sam came home and was like, oh, we should do more Persona tonight. We're up to that bit. It's getting really intense. I'm like, oh yeah, no, I agree. And then like a few seconds go by, no one says anything. I'm like, I've been low-key thinking about how I fucked up on one of these guys without knowing it, and I'm really upset about it. Like, it was just occupying my brain. I didn't mean to, like, it kept me up for like an extra 5 minutes that night, just thinking actively about it, about how I'd missed it. And Sam was like, "Oh, do you want to see like what the deal is?" And I'm like, "No, I don't want to get spoiled for anything else by looking it up. I just, I think it's it." And so I start playing the game, and it's the final couple of days before everything kicks off. And then Sam, like out of nowhere, turns out they've been looking up on their phone, and they're like, "Oh, Akechi, you have to get to rank 8 by this date." And I didn't realize like I'd been like I'd said I'd been thinking about it so much, but Sam said that, and I literally just went like sideways on the couch, and I was just like, "Oh." Oh my god! I was so like palpably relieved. I didn't realize I would be. I was just like, oh my god, I did it. I got I made all the deadlines.
I wish you didn't.
It's so broken, right? Like it's just my brain.
I wish you didn't. Not because I don't want you to have that enjoyment.
Yep.
But I wanted to see you stick it through.
You wanted me to learn my lesson that it would be okay.
Yes, I wanted you to cop it.
And to be fair to myself, I think I've been better in the last few months with games like Arkham Knight, for example, where I just did the things that were interesting, and there was a lot of filler, and then I finished the game and I'm like looked up the ending, and then I'm done with it.
Yeah.
And there are other examples I can't think of off the top of my head as well. But I've been a bit better with that recently. Just going straight through it. Horizon, when I finally finished Horizon, right? But this game, there isn't like you can engage with different stuff, but because you have to go through each day and do something each afternoon and each evening and each afternoon and each evening, you kind of end up doing a lot of that stuff anyway. And so these arbitrary deadlines they hit are kind of the only ways where I can't do everything.
Right.
And all of those characters are people that I'm interested in, and they give you great bonuses for what you want to do. Like it's so much more worthwhile than like a side quest in Horizon.
Sure.
So I was very happy that I managed to get to that. Like, and because I'm enjoying it so much too. Like I'd be so upset if I was like, I'm not going to see that content. It's not going to be a part of my story. I want to. So yeah. Sorry to disappoint you, Jeremy, but I'm so relieved that I saw that stuff. There's one more deadline I've got to hit, but it's for the new character in this version, and her confidant rank only goes up to rank 5, and it's rank 3 right now, so that's going to be a breeze. It's going to be no problem. And then it's had me thinking, we're basically, yesterday we played and got to the final dungeon of the main game.
Right.
And it's had me thinking, I would be so upset right now thinking this is it. Like, I would feel so amped and so intense and so kind of bittersweet about this game ending here where it would if this was the main game.
Right.
And I'm so excited knowing I've kind of got... It's like an emotional buffer of knowing that once this game ends, there's a bit more time with these characters. Like a really good chunk more time with these characters. And another palace, whole new scenarios.
It's the movie after the TV show.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm so glad I've got that. And it's to the point now where it's like, I can see why people say don't even bother with the original version of Persona 5. Because not only are there improvements that I've heard of now looking it up, it's like, oh yeah, I'm so glad I've got that. Like, more battle music, so you're not hearing the same one over and over for 100 hours. And some more optimizations in some of the overworld stuff. But anyone who gets far enough into Persona 5 that they're going to see the bulk of the royal content, which is basically all end loaded. It's all late game.
Yeah.
If you get to the point where you get to that content, you're going to want that content.
Yeah.
And if you don't, then you get to stop playing the game when the main game ends. Like, royal is so... If it's just more Persona, then that it's like... If you're getting to the point where you're getting to that content, you're going to want it. So really, there's no reason to go for the base version of the game. Even though it was free on the PlayStation Plus collection, I think the only thing that's good for is like trying it out for 5 hours.
Do I want to play Persona?
Yeah. Do you even want to engage with it on its base level? And if you don't, then you were never going to enjoy it anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah, this has got me going, like, once we finish this, like, maybe after a break, do we go and play Persona 5 Strikers? You know, that Muso game. You know, I looked up a review of it and they were like, this is really faithful to more Persona. It's like a Persona 5 sequel. It's more time with these characters. And that's really what, like,
You can play
we
4
want at this point. Pardon?
You can play 4.
That's the other thought I had as well. I'm less keen on that, partially because it's another huge 100-hour game. It's just, there's just more. It's more like, how can I engage more with this style, setting, story, characters,
right,
in this place? How much can we stay with it in this Persona 5 universe?
Right.
And it's cool because they've given us those options. I'm the turn at the 90-hour mark where you like catch up to the flashbacks and you start living the present day again. There's so much stuff that happens in there. I got a fake ending. I rolled credits on that game, like legitimately, like the save file said completed, but it was just like the bad ending, like the really bad ending.
Right.
Like that section of the game does so much, but I don't want to even mention it on the podcast. I've thought about it for like a good few days now, but anyone who gets into it, like, it's not worth talking about because it was so fun. Sam and I were sitting there, and we did it over a couple of nights because it got too late. Sam needed to go to bed. And we were sitting there and like talking about it during the day, like over Messenger when Sam was at work. Like, do you think this happened and stuff like that? Or, oh, like, I can't wait to start tonight to see what finally happens. And like, we were trying to figure out this sort of mystery they spun out in front of us. Like, we were so engaged and so hooked in by how they spun this story. I'm really, really impressed with how this game has developed as it has gone on. And
Right.
I'm very, very glad that I've gotten so into it.
Nice. Good.
Yeah. So, tune in for 1 or 2 more weeks when I have something else to say about Persona, because it like, we finished dinner and like we'll finish watching a video and it's like, we could play a bit more Persona. We could see what they're up to and then play for 2 hours and then do it all again the next day.
Mm.
We're going to go on a break now. And when we come back, we are going to talk about the PlayStation Plus Revamp, which we haven't done on the show, partially because the initial details they proposed were kind of sparse initially.
Trickling information.
Yeah, and they didn't have the game list. Last night, they revealed the list of games. So we're going to go over what the service is going to be, pardon me again, what our thoughts are on it, and go through the list of games, what's there, what's missing, what it means for publishers, potentially for acquisitions. It's going to be a whole deal. So stick around, and we'll be right back. Welcome back to the MiniMapCast. I've been suggesting that maybe we just end the show and I'll just go play more Persona, because after talking about it so positively, I just want to go play it.
Back in the days when the podcast used to end and we used to just message each other with Apex.
Apex? And we'd leave one Discord server and just pop up in the other one.
Yeah, immediately.
And then Ollie would be there in like 2 minutes as well.
Yeah, be like, hey, what are you doing?
Playing Apex.
Yeah.
Good times. We're not playing Apex or Persona, though. That's for later. We are going to talk about PlayStation. So, Xbox came out with Game Pass in, 2017, 2018? 2018, I think.
I think it was in beta in 2017.
Okay.
I think.
Yeah, I remember my only memory of that time is who was hosting Kind of Funny Games Daily when they were talking about it.
Right.
And it was Greg and Andrea. But that was, like, she was there for like 2.5 years, so that tells me nothing.
Yeah, I remember the reason I got into Game Pass was because Sea of Thieves was available on Game Pass.
That came out in 2018.
Yeah. 2017 is when it started.
Okay. All right. They didn't announce first party day and date then, did they? I don't think they did.
I don't think that wasn't what they were doing back then, I don't think.
Yeah. So, like, fuck, that's been 5 years since Game Pass started, and it's only gone from
Almost,
strength to strength since then. PlayStation has finally come out with their answer to this. It's not a one-to-one response, but it is PlayStation's most equivalent service, I think. So what we're going to do, we're going to break it down.
It's a very
for those
PlayStation way of doing it too.
Very PlayStation.
It's like, hey, this is kind of why you're doing it like this. It's kind of like, hey, there's some good stuff here, but like, what the fuck is this part of it? And like,
Yep, no, totally. So what we're going to do, for those who aren't aware, or for those who maybe checked it a month ago but haven't checked back since, we're going to go over an overview of what they suggested a couple of months ago before the games list, talk about the pros and cons of that, and then we're going to go over the games list sort of section by section, break down what that means as we go. So, without further ado, adieu? Yes. Avida
Yeah.
I got a little lost there. I'm sorry.
I don't know.
Is it's spelled without further ado is spelled ADO, but
yes,
without further ado, I don't know. When I say it, I feel like I'm saying like an American version of a word that's meant to have a y in it. Like
adieu is goodbye.
Yes, but that's spelled ADIEU.
Yes, I think
which is a great Wordle word, by the way.
It might actually be adieu, because adieu means like
much ado about nothing.
Yeah, it's yeah, but all you did was just say the word again. Like adieu means like it's like a fuss, like a problem, like worry.
Right.
Without further issues, without further
mess, without further carry on.
Yeah.
It's funny how I said that and then carried on.
Yes.
So, without further ado, here is sort of a pared down. We're not going to go through the whole blog post. We've just grabbed out the bits that we think are going to be important. So, here's what you get with the new versions of PlayStation Plus. There are 3 new versions, starting with PlayStation Plus Essential. Benefits. Provides the same benefits that PlayStation Plus members are getting today, such as 2 monthly downloadable games, exclusive discounts, cloud storage for saved games, online multiplayer access. There are no changes for existing PlayStation Plus members in this tier. So this is just PlayStation Plus as we know it, basically, completely unchanged.
It's changing its name, briefly.
Even the same price, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, it's the exact same thing.
It's exactly the same. So that's the base tier now, PlayStation Plus Essential, first tier of PlayStation Plus going forward. The second tier, that is PlayStation Plus Extra. Benefits, provides all the benefits from the Essential tier, adds a catalog of up to 400 of the most enjoyable, PS4 and PS5 games, including blockbuster hits from our PlayStation Studios catalog and third-party partners. Games in the extra tier, the 2 monthly downloadable games, are downloadable for play in the extra tier as well. Wait, what? No. So that's a different point. They're saying you can download these games, you don't have to stream them. That's what that's saying there.
Yeah.
So 400 games for the second tier. The second tier in Australia, let's just keep the prices in Australian. And it does get confusing because they've got now the 3 tiers, and each tier, of which there are 3, has 3 price points. Of 1 month, 3 months, 12 months. Classic like subscription model. The more months you buy at once, the cheaper it is month per month, but the more you have to spend at once.
Yeah.
So PlayStation Plus Essential, the first tier, is $12 for 1 month, $34 for 3 months, $80 for 12 months. In comparison, PlayStation Plus Extra is $19 for 1 month, so that's a $7 increase per month. 3 months is $55, which is about an extra $20 compared to the first one. And then 12 months is $135 for the year, compared to $80 for the year for the first tier. While we're talking about prices, I'm just going to talk about the third tier to keep it sort of all in one place. PlayStation Plus Deluxe, which we'll get to the benefits in a second. 1 month is $22, so that's another $3 per month compared to the second tier. 3 months is what?
It's just there's so much.
Yeah, it is a lot.
Why 3 tiers?
3 tiers with 3 price points is a lot. All of a sudden,
It's-
there's 9 things I have to say.
Yeah, and it's like the fact that it's been going on this long, even in the podcast. Imagine trying to explaining that to like your parents when you're like a child, or like
I'm so glad I'm not an EB Games employee anymore. I
Right?
can't imagine the headache this would be
Right?
to sell. I cannot imagine. So yeah, 1 month, $22 for PlayStation Plus Deluxe. 3 months, $64, which is $9 extra compared to the second tier. And then 12 months is $155, which is $20 extra for the year compared to the second tier. So PlayStation Plus Deluxe isn't actually that much more money in comparison. And that's because for us, we're getting a bit of a pared down version of that third step. So let's read that out now.
The fucked version.
So most territories are getting PlayStation Plus Premium for their third step. The benefits of this include all the benefits of the previous tiers, adds up to 340 additional games, including PS3 games available via cloud streaming, so basically PlayStation Now, and also a catalog of beloved classic games available in both streaming and downloading options from the original PlayStation, PS2, and PSP generations. So offers cloud streaming access for original PlayStation, PS2, PSP, PS4 games, where PlayStation Now is currently available. So you can stream those games rather than download them if you want with the premium tier. If you want.
Yeah.
Time-limited game trials will also be offered in this tier so customers can try select games before they buy. And then instead of getting PlayStation Plus Premium, in Australia, we're going to get PlayStation Plus Deluxe. And that's because we don't have access to PlayStation Now, i.e. their streaming software. So we're not going to get PS3 games as a part of PlayStation Deluxe. We're not going to get that cloud streaming access for the other games as well. Which is why it's a bit cheaper to go to premium for that. You basically just get the extra old games, the PlayStation, PS2, and PSP games that you can download, and the time-limited game trials is all you're getting for that third category in Australia. And so a final dot, just to put a sentence or two to this. When the new PlayStation Plus service when the new PlayStation Plus service launches, PlayStation Now will transition to the new PlayStation Plus offering and will no longer be available as a standalone service. It means nothing to Australian customers because it's not available here anyway. PlayStation Now customers will migrate over to PlayStation Plus Premium with no increase to their current subscription fees at launch. So that's what the service is. And we've known that for a few months now. That initial blog post came out 3 months ago now, 2 months ago, something like that.
Yeah.
And we didn't talk about it at the time, but there's still a lot here. This initially had me quite excited when I saw this back then, mostly because of the numbers of games they spoke about, like up to 400 of the most enjoyable PS4 and PS5 games, up to 340 additional games from PS3, PlayStation 2, PSP. That's a really large number for a catalog of games for a service that year to year is cheaper than Xbox Game Pass Ultimate.
On the yearly subscription, yeah.
On the yearly subscription. Now, is PlayStation Plus Premium equivalent to Xbox Game Pass Ultimate? It's hard to say.
No.
Because it doesn't give you PC Game Pass equivalents. It doesn't give you like cross-play, cross-save, play anywhere.
And streaming's available here.
And yeah, xCloud game streaming is available in Australia. So yeah, it's a bit tricky. However, one of my biggest gripes with Xbox Game Pass, while it is a great value, you have to pay month to month. You can't get a discount for paying more months at once.
Yeah.
There's a lot of rhyming going on here accidentally. I apologize.
Yeah.
So seeing the yearly subscription options for this large catalog of games, again, 400 PS4, PS5 games, 340 older games, that's a really large number. It is much larger than Game Pass's catalog is. And when you buy it at the yearly price, it is cheaper than buying Game Pass for a year at the monthly cost. So that initially had me quite excited when I saw these. You seem pretty cool on these when they came out. Is that correct, Jeremy?
Yeah, I think it's. I don't think it's worth the money.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think this is good. And like, there's three things that make me enjoy Game Pass. It is being able to play it on the PC and Xbox.
Yep.
Having most of those games, if not all of them, like most of them that I think are outside of EA Play, have like the cloud save thing to go back and forth.
Yeah, I think it's definitely if not.
It's nearly all of them. Well, I think we'll comfortably say.
It's hard to say. The Final Fantasy games don't have it because they're different, like, executables. Like, you're playing the PC version compared to playing the Xbox version. So there are some oddities in there. Right. But I'd say at least half of them are cross-save. Yeah. Cross-play.
Yes. And day one, Xbox games come to Game Pass.
Yeah, that is good.
It's great. I don't know.
Well, is it, Jeremy? Is it? Because you say that, and on paper, that's fantastic. Yeah. But what has that actually meant for us in the last few years?
Halo?
That's meant
Sea of
Halo,
Thieves.
yeah, which you kind of didn't like that much when it came out.
Yeah, I didn't have to pay for it, though, is what I'm saying. Like, I didn't have to pay for that game.
Sure. And Flight Simulator, great. But realistically, when on paper, that is fantastic, and it is a great move for Xbox, and they need to do it because they're kind of still on the back foot.
Yeah, like all the Forza games coming is always really good.
And hey, I played like 10 hours of Horizon 5 last year. I probably wouldn't have otherwise. So yeah, that's cool. It's just when I look at what has actually come out, I kind of don't see that much value from it personally. For me, I look at a lot of the games they've brought out, and I'm like, wasn't that good? People didn't like it. Not for me. Not for me. Not for me. And
they're not the prestige thing that Sony likes to put up their own butt that they are. But the PlayStation isn't offering day one games on their service, and so it's like at that point, you're paying still a lot of money for a service that won't provide you with the games that you want to play when you want to play them.
Yeah, you'll have to pay the $100 extra or $125 extra to play those games at launch. Yeah,
right.
So yeah,
they're charging less for less overall, but month to month, it's charging more.
Yeah. Well, yes, that's true.
Yeah.
So it's like month to month is more, year to year is less. So it's if you looked at it on a graph, the lines would cross in the middle, and one would become cheaper than the other.
Yeah. We should go into some of the games because I think it's important.
I think so. One thing I want to close on. You say you probably wouldn't get it. You don't think it's worth it. For me, I find myself using my Xbox mostly for work, and that's a privileged position to be in. But when I am using it, I'm frustrated by it a lot of the time. I'm frustrated by my Xbox frequently.
You have dumb complaints about the Xbox.
I hate that it uses AA batteries. That part of that's on me because I need to get rechargeable ones that charge through the port, but I haven't done that yet, and it's not as simple as it just being in there, and I wish it was.
It's cheaper controller because of that, though.
It's not. It's the same price as the DualShock. They did make the DualSense more expensive, which sucks.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
It was still a full price. It's still a full price controller. It's still $90 to buy one brand new, and it doesn't come with a battery. It comes with batteries, but they'll die in 10 hours, so who the hell cares? Thanks, Xbox. I find the interface confusing when I want to change settings. I think Quick Resume works only half the time. When it works, it's magical, and when it doesn't, like in Elden Ring, it just sucks. It slows me down every time I turn it on.
It's one of the two games that it doesn't work.
You know the other game it doesn't work on? Halo Infinite. Every time I turn...
It's because Halo Infinite's not a very well put together game. Don't worry, it's coming in Season 4, Kery.
I'm just saying, I find my experiences on the Xbox more annoying than I find my experiences on the PlayStation. So a Game Pass style subscription service on PlayStation has me excited because I want to play my games there. Like, when you said you should play Disco Elysium, Sam would probably enjoy watching part of it. I was like, great, I'll see how much it is on PlayStation because I don't want to bother with the Moonlight streaming. I just want to sit down and play it on the projector. And I'm waiting for it to go on sale, and it will eventually, and that's where I want to play it, so that's where I'm going to buy it. Like, I just enjoy using the system more.
Mm.
And so for me, this service is exciting.
Right. And I think as someone who tries to avoid using his PlayStation 5 as much as I can, because every time I turn it on, it yells at me for like the power going out or something, and it's like, hey, we got to defrag your fucking hard drive, and we're just gonna load up everything to make sure it's all there, and it's always still there, and it's like, don't you turn that console off again.
Yeah, you see, I don't have that problem because I don't leave it in rest mode because I want to use less power.
Right.
But I can understand why someone who does would be frustrated by that.
I like updates being downloaded when I'm not using the console, is the thing.
Yeah, but, well, you've found the glitch, right, where it kind of doesn't do that, right?
Sometimes.
Or you've had issues with it updating.
Yeah, it just, like, if the console puts itself into rest mode, I'm like, okay, cool, the download mode, and I'll go do something else, and I'll come out of it, and it's like, oh yeah, we paused the download because you went into rest mode. And I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? You solved this. You've gone backwards. The PS4 was better at this. What are you doing?
And that's legitimately frustrating when you want to use that feature, and I get your frustrations.
The interface is so ugly. The settings, it sucks.
Nah, I like it more. The settings are too condensed, but I like the front page. Although I
themes.
do miss wallpapers.
There's no themes.
Yeah.
The idea of them bringing out a more expensive month, because I'm not going to pay for yearly subscriptions for this, because they're not offering like day one games, and so I'm just going to buy the day one games. And don't get me wrong, I own a lot of the games that are part of this because that's what I do, and so for me that's less exciting anyway. But like their offerings are like a bunch of games, not the new ones, on a month to month, because if I were to use it, I would only use it month to month, and it would be around the same time new games would come out. I would buy a monthly subscription to it, play the new game when it came out, and then probably let it lapse after a month or two. And so because they're not offering that, it's gonna cost a lot more money, because I don't want to do yearly, on a console that I like to use less, and I get less out of it. So what I did is I spoke to my housemate about it. So my housemate just bought a PS5.
Oh, really? Right.
Yes. And he did not own a PS4. And so I said to him, like, does this interest you? Because I was curious. I was like, as someone who would theoretically be in the prime position for it, like, does this interest you? And he's like, not really. It's too much money. Because it doesn't have a lot of the new games. Some of the older games, a lot of the games are included in the list we're going to go through in a moment. Not that much. Don't get me wrong, it's cheaper to pay for a subscription. And the PS5 games are like maybe the only really enticing part, but that would only be enticing if I didn't already buy them for too much money.
Yeah, that's true. Like, what's the cross-section of people that are buying a PS5 without having a PS4, but bought it to then play PS4 games? Like, a lot of the people probably want to play new stuff.
And like, there's a lot of PS4 games that are good that people missed because they didn't have a PS4 and they think a PS5 is a good option for it, which I think it is.
Yes, I agree.
But like, that's a kind of a small subsection, and also, I don't know who is, like, this is what we said ages ago. I don't know who's got Game Pass who's going to swap to this.
Yeah, I think I might be the only person in the world, honestly.
Yes, like, genuinely, like, looking online, you're the only person I've ever heard of that is excited about this.
Just me.
I do not know why. I genuinely do not know why.
I explained myself.
Yeah, but I don't think that's it.
Well, I don't know. Like, I think my reasoning is quite sound, and I think your reasoning is also quite sound for your use case. So, like, let's talk about the list of games, huh? Yeah. Let's move on. let's flesh this out a bit. So this is all the new stuff that we heard today. There's a lot of stuff here. So we're not reading everything that they included as part of their lists. It's also important to mention, and this will come up in part of the conversation later, but these lists aren't complete. This isn't we weren't provided with a complete catalog of what's going to be available on day one.
We'll only get that when the service launches.
Pardon?
We'll only get that when the service launches.
Totally. And also, some of the games are going to be different in different regions. Different regions are going to have slightly differences in the catalog compared to other regions. But this is what we have to go off for now.
Does Game Pass have that?
I don't think it does. And as I was saying that, I think I know why. Because their games already aren't region locked on the store. Like if you get a code in the UK for Elden Ring, you can just put it into your Australian account and it'll play. There's no region locking in Xbox.
Why are they region locking in PlayStation?
It's honestly probably because that's how they designed it for the PS3 back in 2008. Like, if I had to guess, I'd say that's why. Because it functions so similarly to how it does then with, like, if you buy a US copy of the game, then you have to get US copy of the DLC. Like, that kind of stuff.
Ugh. Awful. That sucks. And, you know, there's I can imagine there will be very, very few differences. There will be 1 or 2 games here and there.
Totally. I agree, right? And it'll probably be things where they've got, like, a soundtrack or something on it.
Although I want to say PlayStation Plus used to have pretty often different games.
Between regions.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe.
And I remember Australia getting shafted a lot of it because we used to get the worst one.
Was that also a holdover of like ratings back then? Like we couldn't get that game because it wasn't rated in our country?
I think that happened once or twice, but not often. Not by that point.
Yeah. I'm so glad we're past that.
Well, sort of.
Well, it's true. Some games still get banned. Remember when Disco Elysium got banned? That was silly. It's here now.
Yeah. It never actually got banned.
Didn't it?
Refused
classification.
Yeah,
but reclassified it.
But I mean, as in because the DLC was an upgrade for anyone who owned the game. If you owned the original game, you got it anyway.
Yeah. It just meant you couldn't buy it.
Yeah.
So, going to the list of games now. We've got the PlayStation Studios and just PlayStation Studios. We've got the PS4 and PS5 game catalog that you get with the second and third tiers. These are high quality titles. And this is a selection of the content that will be available. PlayStation.com will be updated with the game list when it launches in your region. And we should say, if you want to get the complete list of what they said today, you can go find the PlayStation blog where they laid it all out for us. But PlayStation Studio games available in the second and third tiers of PlayStation Plus are as follows. We've got Bloodborne, Concrete Genie, Days Gone, Dead Nation. We've got a few Housemarque arcade games in here. Death Stranding and Death Stranding Director's Cut on PS4 and PS5. Demon's Souls the Remake on PS5. Ghost of Tsushima Director's Cut on both systems. God of War, Gravity Rush 2, Horizon Zero Dawn, Infamous Second Son and First Light, Knack, Little Big Planet 3. Yes, I said it like that. Marvel Spider-Man and Miles Morales.
Did you ever play Knack?
No. Resogun, Returnal, which is cool. Relatively new game. Shadow of the Colossus, the remake on PS4. Tearaway Unfolded. The Last Guardian. This is important. I'm going to come back to this in a minute. The Last of Us Remastered. The Last of Us Left Behind. And that's it for The Last of Us.
Yeah, not two.
Until Dawn. Basically every Uncharted game. You've got the Nathan Drake collection, Uncharted 4, Lost Legacy, and Wipeout Omega collection. There's more in there as well.
Wait a minute. They didn't put the PS5 version of the Uncharted games?
So remember, Jeremy, I've mentioned this before. That's part you get a time trial for that one.
Oh my fucking god!
So that's really
that one's a grip, Sony.
Yeah, that's not cool. So basically, what it is this list is you've got a lot of things in here that have come out 12 months ago and later. So that's why you've got Returnal in here, Demon's Souls, Miles Morales. Those all came out within the first 6 months of the PlayStation's life cycle, but not more recently than a year ago. Games that did come out more recently than a year ago are games like Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart, not on this list. Horizon Forbidden West came out a couple months ago, not on this list. Gran Turismo 7 came out, 2 months ago, not on this list.
Yeah.
You also mentioned, Jeremy, that older PS4 games like Knack 2 and Killzone Shadowfall aren't on that list. They didn't mention them.
It's not older than Knack 1. Which is on that list.
You're right. Like, they've got games on that list that are mentioned. Like, is it on that one that they mentioned, like, Loco Roco and stuff like that?
Yeah, there's a bunch of random games.
Gravity Rush 1 and 2, Patapon 2 Remastered, but they didn't mention Knack 2, so that's a bit strange. I wouldn't be surprised if it's there, because we're only seeing a selection, but it might not be, because they didn't mention it.
Yeah, same with
Killzone.
Killzone Shadowfall, the most important game on the PlayStation 4.
Yeah, exactly.
Look, there's weird things about. I think these two games are on PlayStation Plus not too long ago, and I wonder if they accidentally did some fucking weird shit, like it's because it's part of this bundle, so it can't be added to another bundle.
I don't know. I don't know if they were, Jeremy. I don't know if they were on PlayStation Plus that recently. I've been subscribed for more than a year now, and I don't have them.
I remember at some point, March of last year.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, Knack 2
Really?
was at least. It was the same month as Final Fantasy 7, so no one thought about it.
I'm probably just completely blind to Knack. I probably just haven't noticed it at all.
Yeah. It's weird that games they own are not on there. No Dreams as well, which I'm
unless they are, but yeah.
Hey?
It's weird they're not on there unless they are. They could be, they might not be.
Okay, this list is the most complete list as of writing.
But we know it's incomplete. They have told us it's incomplete. There are going to be things there that we haven't heard of today.
Sure, but I have no reason to consider that.
Okay, fair enough.
Dreams is also not on that list, which is a big shame.
Yeah, that is a shame. Because, I mean, that game already has a low barrier to entry with its low price. Yeah. But it kind of needs a lower barrier to entry.
Yeah.
Because the experience that you get with it is so short, and it's the way you engage with that is so specific. It's such a developer tinkering creation tool set, more so than any other game they've made before.
That they should maybe consider doing just like a Dreams player version of it, where you just play the games,
amazing,
and just make that free. Just make that play other people's games, and then if you want to make games, buy the creative toolset or whatever.
I think that would be really incredible. I don't know how they'd make money from it. I mean, I guess they get more eyes on it. People might be more encouraged to give it a go. Yeah, I think you're right. I think that would be great.
Yeah.
So
this list is
you also
fine.
Said here no VR, which is interesting.
Yeah, look, I mean, that's not unexpected.
Yeah, VR is what it is.
Yeah, especially because the weird jump between PS4 VR to 5, needed the dongle, and it's PS4 VR is already no one uses it anymore. Really,
yeah, it's really outdated.
I don't know if I think what they should do is they should consider bringing those into the fold when the PSVR 2 comes out.
And maybe that's a good point. And I heard someone mention on Kind of Funny that maybe some things aren't here that you might think of, stuff further down the list as well, is here because they want to do similar to Game Pass, right? Where everyone's talking about the new Game Pass releases midway through the month. Sony have said in this post that they're going to do something similar, monthly refresh of the catalog of games. And maybe they've got some stuff in the tank for that to be like, hey, month before the VR comes out, here is a bunch of VR games we've got ready, partnered with that, whatever. That's all fluff at that point, but that might be where it's coming.
Yeah, maybe, yeah. And yeah, I don't know. I feel like Ratchet and Clank should be on that list as well. Out of all the PS5 games that are omitted, they're not doing new games. Gran Turismo 7 Horizon Forbidden West are still pretty new. Last of Us 2 really missing new for whatever fucking reason. And Rift Apart, I feel like could have been a good hey, by the way, everyone loved this game. Come check it out.
Yeah, that would have been such a good bonus because it's been out for a year. It's been out for a year at this point.
Returnal's not that friendly
in a month. Yeah, exactly. Returnal's really harsh. It's hard to play. You've got Miles in there, which is great, but that game's 18 months old now. Rift Apart is so fun to play no matter what your age.
And it's
so family friendly.
PS5 exclusive.
PS5 exclusive, and it's not on there. Maybe as soon as we hit June 21st or whatever, bam, there it is. But I kind of it's not easy to give PlayStation that faith. It's very easy to think that they're gonna eke it out for as long as they can.
Yeah.
I do want to talk about The Last of Us 2 not being there. So obviously they're working on the multiplayer mode based on The Last of Us.
Yeah.
And people have been saying, it's likely that The Last of Us 2 will come out as a fully PS5 native version with that multiplayer release.
Yeah.
But there's something so strange about this game not being there. Speaking of games that came out in June, Last of Us Part 2 came out in June 2020. This game is just a couple of weeks away from being 2 full years old. And as someone who worked in a game store when that game came out, and in the months preceding, that that first-party Sony game, the sequel to The Last of Us, a Naughty Dog game, plummeted in price so quickly. Like, so many pre-owned copies came in, they were on sale so quickly, and then new copies came down to like $60 within 6 months of that game coming out, I want to say.
Yeah.
That game has had such a weird launch. So to not include it here is there's something happening.
Yeah.
We're either going to get something new with the multiplayer mode, and they want to charge full for it, which means they aren't putting it on the service, or they're like ashamed of it. Like, I don't know. Like,
it's surely not the latter, but I feel like it's very strange. It is very
it's
strange.
Really strange. Just put and maybe it's because, right? Maybe it's because in like Sony's money mind, they already gave it a PS5 patch. So anyone who's got the PS4 version on PS5 has an optimized version with 60 FPS. And so if they had access to that, then people wouldn't buy the new copy that's going to come out with factions in 1 to 6 months. Like, maybe it's just as simple as that, and they're just keeping the demand up, which stinks.
Yeah, it does.
It stinks like poo.
Yeah.
So those are all the first party games. Do you have anything more to go over that one, Jeremy, or should we press on?
Yeah.
We'll have some overall thoughts at the end too. So let's go further down this list. So this is more PS4, PS5 games. These are third-party partners. I'm going to try to breeze through these a little. We've got a number of Ubisoft games that we'll talk about in detail in a minute, but stuff like Assassin's Creed Valhalla, Far Cry 4, Far Cry 3 Blood Dragon, For Honor.
Far Cry 4.
I know. Tom Clancy's The Division, not The Division 2.
Yeah, it's not even The Division 2.
Yeah, which came out like 4 years ago. Batman Arkham Knight, Celeste, City Skylines, Control Ultimate Edition, Dead Cells, Final Fantasy 15 Royal Edition, Hollow Knight, Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy. That's probably the newest game on there.
Yeah.
Mortal Kombat 11, NBA 2K22, Outer Wilds. Everybody play that game.
Outer Wilds.
Everybody play that game. It's on Xbox Game Pass, PC Game Pass, and PlayStation Game Pass now. Play it.
And on Switch.
Buy that game. If you don't have one of these. And if you are going to get one of these, buy that game, play it. It's great. Continuing on, Red Dead Redemption 2. The first Resident Evil.
It's the Trojan horse and the where the Trojan horse is going.
Which part's the Trojan horse?
So the Trojan horse is us talking about the PlayStation Plus collection essential, all that thing.
Right. We're only talking about it today.
and inside the Trojan horse is us telling people to play Outer Wilds.
Yeah, we've got streamers, we've got signs, we've got a bullhorn. Yeah, we're ready to go.
The entire video podcast is actually a Trojan horse to tell people to play the Outer Wilds.
Including a very exciting announcement from Annapurna Interactive regarding one of the best games of 2019. So yeah, we've got Red Dead Redemption 2 here. That's cool. Resident Evil, but just the first one? Surely it's one of the HD remakes they made.
It's the remake of the first one. Yep. Not 2,
Resident Evil 2?
Not 3, not 4, not 7, not 8.
You're not 7 with the VR mode? Like, what are they doing? Just the first one? That's really weird. It's really weird that that's in there and none of the others.
Yep.
Soul Calibur 6, The Artful Escape, Tom Clancy's Division.
It's a shitty list.
Yeah, a weird list. I cut a few things out of here.
Yeah, we cut some boring ones out and we left what's left is still not good.
Yeah.
And there are good games in here, but like those good games are like the Outer Wilds, Red Dead 2, Hollow Knight, Guardians, like
Celeste.
It's
sort of like a 50-50 split of like, oh yeah, what?
It's almost a bargain bin. It's Mortal Kombat 11, which is, the newest Mortal Kombat.
Old at this point.
But it's newest Mortal Kombat, but it's not I don't know if it'll be the complete edition.
That one's at least 2 years old.
Yeah, it's Resident Evil, the first one that got remade.
First one.
It's
you want to play the very first Resident Evil game from '98?
It's the Tom Clancy's The Division 1. It is Far Cry 4. It's For Honor. It's Final Fantasy 15, not Final Fantasy 7 Remake.
Oh my god, you're right!
Like, it is Arkham Knight, not the Batman Arkham collection. It is, Valhalla's an okay get. like, who cares?
Some of this is weird.
It's not good. It's not
If
exciting.
it's your only platform, I'd be excited. I'd get to play Guardians, but I borrowed it for you on Xbox already, so that's not relevant for me.
Sure, yeah. It's a place to play these games, most of which are already pretty cheap and pretty old.
Yep.
And not exactly the thing that anyone's talking about.
Totally. Half of these games have already been on the PlayStation Plus collection. Some of the games I listed earlier, like Bloodborne and Days Gone and Until Dawn, and then games here like Arkham Knight, Final Fantasy 15 Royal Edition. Like, a lot of people have had access to these games already.
It's Red Dead 2 and not GTA 5. You know, it's like... It's odd.
Yeah. Yeah, it is odd.
List.
And it's a list that, unfortunately, makes me say the same thing I said when we got the first details, which is, I want to see the full list. Show me the full list.
Here's the thing.
I want to make a full assessment of this.
This is the best of the full list.
Yeah,
you know that, right?
So far or actually.
Yeah. Some of these games are so old they don't have PS5 versions, right? It's like...
Yeah. Or like indies.
Yeah. Yeah, the indies are the indies.
Yeah. So, after that, we've got the classic games catalog. And there's a few things in the blog post in written words that I wanted to bring out here as details. And we'll go over these after we get through the plan. So, here we go. Here's what they have to say about their classic games catalog.
So very, very, very briefly, I think it is important to point out, and this is not shocking at all, but there are no Microsoft-owned Studios games in any of those lists.
Right, no Bethesda.
No Bethesda.
That's a good point. Yeah, no
there's
Bethesda.
There's no Activision Blizzard stuff in there. There's no Call of Duties that I've seen.
No Arcane.
Yeah. That's not surprising, but like we're seeing that hit now.
Yep, totally. Could you imagine if they came out with this like a year later after all that dust had settled? I think if they'd come with this any later, like it would be an absolute no-show, an absolute no-go for this one.
Mm-hmm.
And as it is, we still don't know the full list, so we'll see. So here's what they have to say about the classic games catalog. This is what you get in the third tier, either the premium with PS3 streaming or the deluxe plan. So here's what they have to say. PlayStation Plus Premium/Deluxe members will have a selection of popular classic games to play, with subtitles that will show improved frame rates and higher quality resolution compared to their original launch versions. That's pretty cool. For select original PlayStation and PSP classic games, members will also enjoy a new user interface with menus that allow you to save your game at any time, or even rewind the game if you want a do-over.
Yeah, they're
also,
emulating.
They're emulating, and they're giving it sort of NSO Switch Online feature set. That's good. I didn't expect it there, so that's nice to see. Also, players who have previously purchased the digital version of select games from the original PlayStation and PSP generation will not have to make a separate purchase or sign up to PlayStation Plus to play these titles on PS4 or PS5. So, I'm just breaking off the thing there. You could buy original PSP and PlayStation 1 like classic titles on the PS3 and play them on the PS3. And current accounts who made those purchases still have those games tied to their accounts. What this is saying, when those games that are made available through PlayStation Plus and can be played on PS4 and PS5 are available, people who have already purchased them on previous generations won't have to pay through the subscription to play them. They'll be available on the store to download again to play on your newer systems, which is good. And it's the kind of thing that people wouldn't have thought of until it was said that it wasn't happening, and then it would have been articles everywhere. So, like,
yeah,
it's good for the consumer that they've done this, and it's good for them that they've done this.
It's also the kind of thing that I have no faith that they would have done.
Yeah, exactly.
Because they just don't do that. They're happy to just charge you extra. And like, look, it's fine. It's the minimum to allow me the thing that I already paid for.
It's the minimum that we weren't expecting.
Yep.
And so they go on to say, when these titles are released for PS4 and PS5, players can head to the PlayStation Store and download a version for the consoles at no extra cost if they already own the digital version of the title. Some of the titles will also be available for individual purchase. That means... Sorry?
It's also worth mentioning the only reason this happened is because people let them know, don't you dare shut down the PS3 store.
Yeah.
All those would have gone. They all would have fucking disappeared.
That's true. That's true. They are still tied to people's accounts, though. And I imagine that people would have said, so you closed the stores and then made them available only through the subscription afterwards.
I feel like that was the plan.
I mean, Nintendo got away with it. They've been doing that for years, right? Everyone bought their emulations on 3DS and Wii, and then you don't carry those forward to the Switch.
Yeah.
And the Wii U. So yeah, it's a bit, it's good they've done this. It is a bit weird. I think I don't think they're going to have, I don't think many of these are going to be available for individual purchase. I think some are going to be available through the subscription, or if you purchased them previously, but you can't now purchase them individually. There are going to be some cases like that, and that's going to be weird. But at least they've got this. Okay. No knocks against that. You kind of, you did it.
Yeah. You remembered what your previous consoles were.
Yeah, you remembered, you realized what the headlines would be if you didn't do this. Well done.
Yeah.
We appreciate it.
You did it.
So, some of the classic games.
Did a risk analysis and decided.
Exactly. Finally. So some of the games catalog, classic games, they haven't listed much here. It's a pretty short list.
Yeah,
so PlayStation Studios, original PlayStation PSP games, and I cut a few of these out too that I didn't recognize. We've got Ape Escape, Hot Shots Golf, Jumping Flash, whatever that is, Siphon Filter, and Super Stardust Portable from Housemarque. Third-party partners, we've got Tekken 2 and a couple of Worms games. And then they've got this weird section that I don't like. Oh, sorry, you're right. I didn't say what you wrote there, Jeremy. Worm Tekken. Which is the only thing on that list. Worm Tekken.
Yeah, Worm Tekken.
And then they say classic games catalog remasters. And this list gets weird quickly. So I'm gonna bring it up as we go through. So PlayStation Studios, we've got Ape Escape 2, Dark Cloud 2, Hot Shots Tennis, Jack and Daxter 1, Jack 2, Jack 3, Jack X, Rogue Galaxy from Japan Studio, Wild Arms 3. Now, a lot of these games were the very few select, like couple of dozen PS2 games that were made available to play on PS4.
Yeah.
And they've classified these as remasters when they're pretty directly ports. Like they run in widescreen and whatever, but like
they're directly ports.
Just made available for PS4. Woohoo!
And at least for Jack and Daxter, they put out a HD collection trilogy on PS3.
Yep.
The version that we got on PS4 was the PS2 version, not the PS3 version, which looked better.
Yep.
And so this is just the worst version of a game that already exists.
Yep.
Running on a PS4.
And those are, I'm pretty certain that those are the only games that we have access to, are ones that they have already remastered, ported to the PS4 system, like 5 years ago. These
are backwards compatible PS4 games because they are just broad ports of PS2 games onto PS4. These are just PS4 executables. This was no additional work.
Exactly. Now the question is, and remember everyone, you only get access to these games on the subscription on their highest tier, right? Yeah. So the question becomes, are they going to add any more PS2 games, or is this it? And are they going to add any PS1 games, or is it just going to be what was added to the PS3's PlayStation 1 Classics collection years ago? Do you think they're going to go back and add more, or is it just going to be whatever Absolutely they've got sitting on the servers?
It's just going to be whatever's there. I have no... I don't... They don't do that. You've heard what Jim Ryan says about old games.
I know. It's such a shame, right? Because when they say, oh, PlayStation... Like I ran through what PlayStation Plus Extra... No, Premium is going to be, right? Adds up to 340 additional games, including PS3 games available via cloud streaming. Great. A catalog of beloved classic games available in both streaming and download options from the original PlayStation, PS2, and PSP generations. I immediately think I'm going to be able to play some of my most favorite PlayStation 2 games like Aragon. Obviously not, there's licensing issues there. But like other shit, maybe the original PS2 version of Final Fantasy X. I'd love to play that. I know there's been remasters, but whatever. Like, just more. Just any.
There's some Ratchet and Clank games on the PS2 that are only on PS2.
Yeah. It's like the first ones. Those are on PS3. You're right. They made a collection for that. But even just getting to play the originals, like, that is a missed opportunity. The PlayStation 2 catalog is beloved and bloated, admittedly, but like there's dozens of gems in there.
Where's
and
Buzz?
They're letting this. What?
Where's Buzz?
The trivia show. Bring back the peripherals. Please don't. It's an absolute waste of plastic.
No, do
it. But what a miss to not include more stuff here. And you're right. There's very little reason to believe that PlayStation will be adding to these catalogs beyond more than what they've already developed.
Yep. Yeah. This is a bullet point.
Yeah. Where it was a headline for me. I saw that and I'm like, oh, more PS2 games.
Yeah, I think I was just more immediately pessimistic about this.
Yeah. And fair enough. There's
a couple other third-party remasters
that's the thing.
as well.
They're calling these remasters, right? And so then they
Some
come
of
with
these
third-party partners. They're all remasters, but none of them are PS2 generation remasters. We've got BioShock Remastered, Borderlands The Handsome Collection, Bulletstorm Full Clip Edition, Kingdoms of Amalur Re-Reckoning, Lego Harry Potter Collection. All of those are PS3 and above generation games that got remasters for PS4.
Yeah, I think BioShock got a bit of work done.
I mean, they're all remastered. They all got work done, I'm saying.
Harry
but
Potter
it's weird
isn't.
to include them in the same section as PS2.
Is Lego Harry Potter a remaster?
Yeah. Because it was a single
Remaster of what?
disc. It came with... Because remember, the original games, you had to buy Harry Potter years 1 through 4.
Yeah, but it's
and
not a
then the
remaster.
separate game
This is
years
just
1 through 5.
this is just a collection of games. This isn't
It was
even
remastered.
But it was
PS4. Upres for PS4.
Were they PS3 games?
Yeah, man.
Oh, I thought they came out later than that.
Nah, those games have been around for ages.
Yeah, right. Okay.
It's really weird to put them in this list. Why aren't those are all PS4 games? Why aren't they a part of the PS4 list?
Mm-hmm.
They've put it in here to distract from the disappointingly small PlayStation 2 games list. That's why it's there.
It's because they don't. It's because they don't like old games, Kery.
Yeah, well, we do.
They like new games because they can charge you $125 for them.
And it's recorded on podcast 2 years ago when we were leading up to the launch of the PlayStation 5 and prices started coming out. I was behind that. And as time goes on, I am less and less behind that.
The 125?
Yeah.
Right.
I don't see it anymore. I'm not there for it.
It's like I've not heard anyone saying, yes, the developers are now finally able to live their wildest dreams because they're selling their games for 100. No, none of them are. The money just goes directly to PlayStation.
Yep. So, yeah.
I think I said that at the point.
You did. Do you want me to say you were right, Jeremy? Would you like?
Nah, it's okay. That's all right. I know.
Okay, that's good. We're going to go over some of the PS3 games and what it means. Now, remember, this isn't available in Australia. No. But for people who do have access to PlayStation Plus Premium, not Deluxe, which is what we get, this is what you get. So the new PlayStation Plus will offer PS3 games to stream and play on PS4, PS5, and PC, which is cool. So it's all streaming only.
Yes.
These are original and non-remastered versions of PS3 games and are available to PlayStation Plus Premium members where cloud streaming is available.
Yeah.
Here's a selection of the original PS3 games available. Here we go. So we've got the original Demon's Souls, which is interesting because the remake is included.
It's funny that that's there.
Yeah. Hot Shots Golf, Out of Bounds, more Hot Shots. Ico, Infamous 1 and 2, and Festival of Blood. Loco Roco Cocorecho. That was fun to say. Motorstorm Apocalypse. All 3 Ratchet and Clank. Oh, wait,
nope.
actually.
No, not all of them. For some reason, Tools of Destruction isn't there, and I don't know why.
Hell? Okay, so Ratchet and Clank Quest for Booty, A Crack in Time, and Into the Nexus, but not the first one, Tools of Destruction.
Yeah, not the one that sets up the 2 and 3 in that series, in that trilogy.
Ah, that's really strange.
Yeah.
So 3 out of 4 PS3 Ratchet and Clank games there.
Mm-hmm.
Strange. Maybe it's because it requires the 6-axis so much. And it's meant to be able to be streamed to PC.
Oh.
Maybe, right? Maybe. Because if you're meant to be able to play it on PC,
I want to say you can turn that off.
I don't think you can. Like that wasn't a part of it because that was like a launch game or like a launch window game. That was a huge part of.
I know.
You remember in the original Uncharted game where they had when you were walking like a Y, couldn't you like tilt left and right to stop them from falling over? Is that the original Uncharted? I might have pulled that out of my ass.
I don't think so.
Okay. Resistance 3, but not 1 and 2? Question mark?
Who cares?
Super Stardust HD, another Housemarque game. Third-party partners here as well. We've got Castlevania Lords of Shadow 2, Devil May Cry HD Collection, Enslaved Odyssey to the West, and Red Dead Redemption Undead Nightmare, which I've only heard excellent things about, but also it's 12 years old.
Red Dead Redemption Undead Nightmare, that edition of that game, I believe, includes the base game. I believe.
Yeah, who could say? We'll find out in a month or two. What do we think of that PS3 list? We kind of got in there while we were reading it, but
yeah. It's weird that Ico is there and not Shadow of the Colossus on PS3, and yet Demon Souls is there and not the and Demon Souls is there on both.
And the remake is there. Yeah,
that's weird.
It's really strange.
I don't know. This list is kind of like nothing.
That's a good point. It's the Ico remaster of the PS2 game on PS3, but that was bundled with Shadow of the Colossus originally.
Yeah.
Oh, what the hell, man? That's really strange.
Yes, it is very strange.
So yeah, this is great news for Infamous fans. You know, lucky you, Greg Miller, and
both of
great
you.
news for 3/4 of Ratchet and Clank collection on PS3. But not the first one, which is a good game.
Yeah, the first one's really good.
That's 1 full game and 2 half games in there.
No, Into the Nexus is a full game.
Isn't it pretty short?
I think it's still a full game.
Pretty sure it's pretty short. They sold it for less, and it went for less time, and like...
Yeah, but Quest for Booty is like you do it in like an hour.
Yeah, that one's really short.
Yeah. I had good things about Into the Nexus.
Okay. Have neither of us played it?
I played a little bit of it. I've got it.
Jeremy, now's the... Wait, no, we don't get game streaming. Never mind.
Yeah.
And then finally, the last little bullet point that they added today.
The biggest joke out of all of it, maybe.
The biggest news.
The biggest joke.
Time-limited game trials for PlayStation Plus Premium and Deluxe plans. The time-limited game trial benefit will enable you to try select games before you buy. After downloading a trial of the full game, you can play it for 2 hours for most games. We'll come back to that in a minute, that number. The playtime counter only counts while you're in the game. It's a great way to try games before you decide to buy, and any trophies and game save data from the trial period... No, this bit's important. Any trophies and game save data from the trial period will carry forward if you purchase the game. Here are some titles. PlayStation Studios, Uncharted Legacy of Thieves collection. Yes, that's right. The games that we remastered and put in that above collection, you can play the PS5 versions on a limited time trial on PS5. Horizon Forbidden West, that one expected. Relatively new game, first party tentpole, not a remaster. Game trial, whatever. Third party partners, Cyberpunk 2077, which says to me that they repaired some of their hurt feelings with CD Projekt Red, by the way. Farming Simulator 22, Tiny Tina's Wonderlands, and WWE 2K22. There's some new games in there. That's cool. 2 hours for a time trial that I'm paying an extra $4 a month for or something? Like an extra 20, 30, 40 bucks a year for?
This
2 hours?
So I've done the math, Kery.
Yep.
It's additional 12 hours of content you get right here.
For the games that they've got listed so far, yes, you're right.
Yeah, it's 12 hours.
Isn't the intro to Horizon Forbidden West like really long? Like it's a lot of story.
You are not going to get to the open world in Horizon Forbidden West.
Like
also, Legacy of Thieves collection implies to me you get to try one of the games.
Or you could just play an hour of both.
Yeah, or an hour of both. Cyberpunk 2077 is a very, very long RPG.
It's also incredibly buggy.
And the rest, I don't know.
people saying good things about WWE. Like a game
Yeah,
like
sure,
that, sort of an
fine.
arcadey sports game, sure. Tiny Tina's Wonderlands, you get a great sense of the vibe and the style, great, sure, whatever. But it's like this segment right here is about, this is their answer, I guess, and it's not a great answer, but this is their answer to day and date Xbox Game Pass releases. At least you could try it, right? At least you could try
but it's
it.
not, because the emissions that we were talking about before,
Like Gran Turismo 7.
yeah, Gran Turismo 7, Ratchet and Clank,
Yep.
and what was
Where were they?
Yeah. I told you the stock's too big.
That's mostly it.
Yeah,
Horizon, Gran Turismo, Rift Apart.
yeah, like, why are they not there? And we know the answer. We have the answer. The answer is because, as of, this is an article from Eurogamer on the 26th of April, 2022.
About a month ago.
Yeah, from Tom Phillips. Sony reportedly now requiring some PlayStation developers to make time-limited game demos for Plus Premium, at least 2 hours long. It goes in, like, the article, like, the headline basically says it all. PlayStation was requiring all the developers, just made the decision, hey, you need 2-hour demos to be available on our system. Are you gonna
Otherwise, you don't get to put your game here.
Like, not even that. It's like no one knows what happens if you don't comply.
Right, okay.
They have to be made available within a year, I believe is what it was. And they have to be made available for a year is the other part of it that I saw. As far as I'm aware, no one got told, hey, like, we'll help you fund it or anything like that. There was no, like, hey, we'll work.
That's development overhead.
Yes, that is development overhead. Which leads me to my next point. This is an article from Mike Fahey in 2013.
What?
From Kotaku. The headline is, "Demos are great for gamers, not so great for sales." Now, this article details a study that happened from, this article from 2013, from many years ago now, detailed study, that demos reduce the sales of games.
Interesting.
Because people know they don't like it, they don't enjoy it as much. Sometimes the big first 2 hours can leave a not very good impression. You're not going to get further.
Yep.
Blah blah blah. There are many factors to do with it. But basically, Sony is now requiring a lot of these developers to make something which will cost them time, cost them money, cost them labor, and then might make their sales drop.
Yeah, it's so strange, right? And like maybe the rationale is, oh, people are paying for the subscription, right? But how, like, the developers aren't seeing the return on the PlayStation Plus premium plans. They just said, you need to do this, not we will reimburse you for your work. Like, it's really strange. I don't like it at all.
Where's Sackboy's Big Adventure? Is that there?
No, we haven't seen it once, actually. I totally forgot about it. That should be there.
That should be there.
That was a launch game. That should be there.
Yeah.
If they put Miles there, Sackboy will be there.
Yeah. Well, yeah, but I mean, it was
then
not.
In my head, I was like, oh, what about Astrobot? I'm like, hang on.
VR. Oh, you mean the PS5 one, right? Yeah.
I just meant the pack-in. Yeah. It turns out it's a pack-in. So, yeah, this is weird. I think 2 hours is useless.
Yeah.
Even 3 hours would be better. And, I look at this and I'm like, in my head, I was like, 5 hours would be better for a game like Cyberpunk or Horizon. But it would be really bad for a game like Uncharted. Like, that's actually not a good idea. It's not good that Uncharted Legacy of Thieves is a part of this, by the way, but like, it's there now. Let's just use it as an example. That would be a bad amount of time for a game that short. But at the same time, 2 is like, you need to download the full version of the game for something you don't even know if you're going to keep. It's like, what is it, like 50 to 100 gig?
Yeah.
And like, I get it. There is value to this for some people. But for the people who are already spending this much on the premium plan, they're already either spending it yearly without thinking about it, or spending it monthly or yearly with thinking about it, right? They're already going to be interested in these games. if they've got the money to buy premium, they might have already bought these games, or they might not even need the trials to buy the games that aren't there.
Yeah.
Or they can only afford premium and they have no way of buying these games that you're giving them a trial for. It's not good. And it directly points to the difference of them not releasing newer games day and date. The best value you get from this is third-party time trial demos. Like, I would never... Like, there are some games that release on Game Pass day and date, but most third-party games don't. You expect it from Game Pass studios, Xbox Game Studios, because part of Game Pass revenue goes into Microsoft, which goes into funding Xbox Game Studios. So that makes kind of sense, right? But third-party partner trials, getting to try out Tiny Tina's Wonderlands, I've been a bit interested. Oh, Andy Samberg, I like Brooklyn Nine-Nine, I like Will Arnett, I'd like to see what that's like. I could give that a go.
Sure.
WWE 2K22, a short kind of sports arcadey game I've heard is quite a return to form for the series that everyone's been really enjoying. That could be cool if people came over and was like, oh, try this, bring over your DualSense, we'll give it a go, or your DualShock, it's a PS4 version. So, like, there's value there for the third-party parties. But, yeah, like...
Why aren't they streaming?
Streaming trials?
Yeah.
Good question.
It just seems like a much cleaner answer. Like, you don't have to download it. You can try it immediately.
It might be something to do with the timer that they've got on there. Maybe they couldn't institute the timer, or the timer could be exploited. I don't know. Like, I imagine it'd be something to do with that 2-hour timer and how they're instituting that. It might be on a hardware level.
Maybe a 2-hour timer is a terrible barometer for games. 2-hour timer, what are we doing?
That you have to pay $22 a month to get access to.
Good Christ.
Final
when
detail.
Demos were demos?
I do remember when demos were demos. I
download
remember I
a
was
demo.
sick one year and I played the wet demo on my PS3.
Nice.
That game didn't do very well.
Make you feel better?
Yeah, it was fun for an hour or two. I played the Force Unleashed demo as well. I've downloaded a bunch of crap.
Yeah.
So, launch is just a week away, starting with Asia on May 24th, followed by Japan on June 2nd, North and South America on June 13th, and finally Europe, Australia, and New Zealand on June 23rd. I was not aware we were so far down the list, and I am annoyed by that, but
yeah,
whatever.
We're a month away.
Yeah. Whereas
a month
people
and a
in
week.
Asia are a week away.
Yeah.
So that's disappointing on my end.
Look, it's hard to launch something here when there's less of it. You gotta we're a long way away, less data, there's no reason.
They've got to send the Sony exec with the thumb drive of all of the files to the server centers.
Yeah.
Although, actually, I was thinking about this in the shower beforehand. I do wonder if it's part of them like trying to beef up our network because it sucks. If they're like, no, Australia's not ready. Put us on the end. We're not ready yet. We gotta.
Yeah, Sony's Australian servers are still running on the cell architecture.
Yeah, and running on our internet, which sucks. Cell architecture servers, please.
Look, Game Pass works here. Sorry, xCloud works here.
Yep.
I use it not a lot, but I use it a bit. I very rarely had issues with it. I've used a little bit over 4G. It's not impossible.
Yeah, it's weird it's not here.
I mean, look, Stadia is still not here.
True, and Luna.
And the Nintendo one.
Oh yeah, Nintendo's random cloud streaming service games. Yeah, this is it's strange. And at the end of the day, we don't know everything that's coming. We just don't, because they gave us incomplete lists. Those lists themselves felt incomplete. Feels like there's things that are definitely going to be there that they didn't mention that they probably could have. Feels like there are things that maybe aren't going to be there and just might not, and they didn't mention it, and we just have to keep waiting because there are some things they left out. I want to see the full list. That's where I land on the end of this, is I need to see what I might want to play.
I think you have to take this currently as what the full list will be.
This full list, it's not even like 70 games though.
Right, but at the moment, this is what they're selling you.
Oh, you're right.
At the moment, this is the product.
Okay, so that's a good point. So let's go forward. Let's finish this segment and this topic with, if this was the list, how do we feel about it? Like, I'd maybe pick it up to play the Lego Harry Potter collection if Sam wanted to, but that IP is actually quite difficult to engage with in a positive way at the moment for many people, including us. So maybe not. I don't know. Play Jack and Daxter 1 and 2 and 3, I guess. What else here? I can't play Guardians. I've got a save started on Xbox. Red Dead Redemption 2, I got a save started on PC. Celeste is great. This is great for people who don't have these things already, but for people who are already here, or who already have these games, or have been keeping up, it's hard to say what honestly, the most exciting thing here, I could try Valhalla. I could try Assassin's Creed Valhalla if I wanted to.
Death Stranding?
That's tricky. I don't trust Kojima as far as I could throw him. Like, I don't trust that I'm not going to be rolling my eyes into the back of my head so far that my eyes are going to detach from my brain if I play that game. It'd be interesting to try and see how it runs on PS5, maybe something like that. But again, that's like, I don't know.
It's an 80 gigabyte download.
Talking about me playing Civ and Persona. Do I really want to start like Death Stranding? How long is that game?
Like 40 hours.
I thought it was like much more. How long to beat? Death Stranding, 40 to completion. It says 113, but that's a bit silly. Main plus extras, 60 hours. Main story, 40 and a half. Yeah. It's a weird one. It's a weird... So yeah, I don't know. I think this is great value for people who don't have these games. For your housemate, I feel like this would be great value for your housemate who hasn't had a PS4 to play these games. Yeah, if he didn't have access to your collection of games already.
I was gonna say, but my all these games are sitting in a bookshelf.
Yeah. But yeah, as it stands, if the full list is fuller, great. If it's not, whoosh.
Yeah.
Whoosh, Jeremy.
Yeah, this ain't much.
It ain't much.
And it's too much.
It ain't honest, but it's too much. Yeah. Yeah, it's a shame. I think honestly, for real, the biggest thing I'm excited about here is you and I could try the co-op mode in Returnal with this. Because I played your disc copy, and turns out you also played your disc copy, which we can't do at the same time. Here we could do it at the same time.
I forgot about that, because I remember when I pinged you when they came out, being like, hey, do you want to give this a go? And you were like, I have your copy. And I'm like, oh.
Yeah.
I didn't even know that I didn't have it.
Yeah, totally. That's like, yeah. It's a shame that it's not more exciting, I think. Well, I hope it gets there. I hope they try and give Xbox a run for their money. There's no reason to expect that they will, but I hope they do. That's where I land on it.
Yeah.
You got a final sentence, Jeremy?
I don't care. Like this is just the thing that I just don't care about almost at all. Like when they announced it, I was like, okay, here we go. Like let's see what they've got. They know they're on top, and when they're on top, they get cocky. Yep. And they like to just sort of do whatever and make dumb decisions about $15 upgrades per game, etc. Blah blah blah. Are those going to be included? Probably not. I feel like that would have been a good tier to include. You know, if you own these games, you get the $15 upgrade for free or whatever. Heaven forbid.
I mean, they've kind of included that. That's mostly for the
Uncharted?
director's cut stuff, right? So, except
Uncharted?
for that, I'm just saying, Ghost of Tsushima, that's there to download PS4, PS5 for the director's cut.
If they included that as one of the tier things, saying like, oh, by the way, for any of these games that got brought across,
a fourth tier maybe.
Oh god,
with 3 price points.
It's too complicated. If you ask me which one am I gonna get, sorry, if you say to me, are you gonna get deluxe, premium, or the other one, essential,
extra?
Yeah, I don't even know which one is what.
That's fair.
And
that's fair.
Like this, I kind of like to know these things, but this is just like, we've been through this. I don't remember what's in what tier.
Yeah, head empty.
I don't know. It doesn't sit in the brain comfortably. It is this sucks.
Yeah, I agree.
PS2 and PS3 streaming stuff is just useless to me as well. Well, the PS3 literally is useless, but like the PS2 is like, this is nothing.
That's the biggest kick for me, is that it's just the things they've already remastered and you could buy for $15 for PS4 that they never added to.
There's a single Final Fantasy game in there and it's 15. There's no Metal Gear Solid games. There's no
They're taking some Metal Gear Solid games off of PlayStation now before they get roped into this.
There's one Resident Evil game and it's one.
Yeah.
Wasn't Resident Evil 7 on PlayStation Now?
It's in the PlayStation Plus collection.
Right, okay.
Which I guess is still there. I think that's still there no matter what. Because that's like... Oh, wait, fuck. Is it?
I think it is. I don't think that's leaving.
This is the PlayStation Plus revamp. We didn't hear anything about the PlayStation Plus collection.
I don't think that's going anywhere because the thing was that PlayStation Plus Essential is the same thing.
Yeah, I don't see... They didn't mention it in the new games update, and let's see if they mentioned it in the first update. Nope, they didn't mention it once. I have no idea what's going to happen to the PlayStation Plus collection. Just that Persona 5's leaving it, but that's been... We've known that for a while now. Oh,
I didn't hear anything about that going away, and I feel like we would have at this point. That if it was genuinely like disappearing. Yeah, Sony confirms that there are no plans to get rid of the PS Plus collection on PS5 even after the PS Plus revamp. So that's fine.
So it must be a part of Essential then. It must be a part of the first tier.
Yeah, it would.
Why didn't they say that today then? Why didn't they say these are the perks you get with PlayStation Essential? This doesn't say anything about the collection. That's so strange.
Yeah, and the list of games in the collection,
There's a lot of crossover.
Yeah, like there is a bunch of crossover. Arkham Knight is there, Bloodborne is there,
Days Gone, Until Dawn, Last of Us.
There's
So yeah, I get
God of War, Last Guardian, Mortal Kombat 10, Persona 5.
Yeah, 10, not 11.
Persona 5 is leaving in last week. The Ratchet and Clank PS4, Resident Evil 7, Until Dawn.
Crash.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think talking through it, I realized how sort of disappointing this was. I was more hyped on until I sort of fully analyzed it. If the full list is more exciting, then great. But I'm glad other places are getting it first, so we can see it before we have to put down money for it.
Are you gonna get it?
I'm more on the fence now than I was when we started this conversation. I'm not gonna get it. I'm not deciding not to get it today. There are things here I would be interested to play, and this would be a good way to do it. Like Returnal, or maybe Death Stranding. But the things here are they're few and far between. If they get a compelling third party lineup in here and some more indies, if it looks more like Game Pass, I'll be more excited to give it a go.
There's so few indies there. There's so few indies.
With the list as it stands, yeah.
Yeah. Like,
unless the list changes dramatically, I'm not going to be too excited.
They need to just either say this is the full list. They don't want to do that. Or say this is the list, which they also don't want to do that.
Isn't that just the same thing you just said?
No, sorry. Like they need to publish the full list or say that this is the full list. What they've already put out. They need to put out another post saying this is everything.
So you're saying they either need to publish it or they need to have published it?
Yes.
We need the full list.
We need the full list.
We do need the full list. It's the ultimate conclusion for this, unfortunately. As it stands, it's not too exciting. For us, I think it's great for someone who hasn't had access to these games yet. I think it's great for kids, potentially. They could play Hollow Knight for what is it, $16 or $18 a month, right? They could get access to Hollow Knight, try Celeste.
It's like a $25 game.
Dead Cells. Yeah, good point. It's also really big. Oh, let's end the show. I'm getting sad about it. It's not great.
It's not good.
Well, everyone, thanks for going down this slightly depressing breakdown with us. We're going to be talking about it when it comes out. Probably not to this extent, but we will be talking about it when it comes out. So look out for that in bloody hell, a month, end of June for us.
Yeah, month and a bit.
And if you want to catch up with what we were playing in the meantime, you can come back next week, and the week after that, and the week after that. We'll be here. Thank you so much for listening. If you enjoy this episode, you can go to minimap.com.au to find all previous episodes of this podcast, our other podcasts. You can also support us on Patreon if you want to support us with financial support. Support us with support. That's patreon.com/minimapau. We're on all of the socials that I said before. What was that? It was Twitter, Twitch, TikTok, and Instagram on MiniMapAU for all of those accounts. And Jeremy, is that about it? Twitter, individually, we are also both there. I'm there at KJPalmer_24. Jeremy is also there.
At Obi-Wan Jez.
And that's about it. That's about it, Jeremy.
Ah.
You got it. That's about it, Jeremy. Thank you so much for listening. And we'll see you next week. Goodbye. You nailed it.